Thank you for joining us for the Miami Valley Salute to Veterans. I am Cindy LaPointe-Dafler, a volunteer interviewer for Miami Valley Communications Council. My husband was killed in Vietnam in 1969. He was awarded the Medal of Honor posthumously and is one of only 3 conscientious objectors to have received the Medal of Honor. So why am I host for this? I love being around our veterans and talking with them, hearing their stories and their thoughts. If my husband had survived the war, he would have been a veteran too. So it's my way of remembering his legacy. We hope that hearing these memories from veterans of our community will help us all better understand the dedication of those who served. Today we will interview Fred
Poe
of Centerville, Ohio.
That's correct.
You were in the Marine Reserves from 54 to 55.
Yes.
And in the Air Force from 55 to 62.
Mm-hmm.
And you will tell us the story of your time in the military. Thank you for being. Do you want me to call you Fred or Mr.?
Fred's fine.
Fred's fine. Okay.
Mr. is my father.
When you went into the military, I assume you enlisted, right?
Yes. Starting off with the Marine Reserves, the reason I got into that, I'm 17 years old, and I'm from Kansas City, and I was at the movies. It was John Wayne, one of his Gun Home, I can't remember, it was Back to Bataan or the Sands of Iwo Jima or whatever it was, and after the movie, everybody's, we're all hyped up, and there is a Marine recruiter. He's all set up in the lobby, and all of a sudden we all just gathered on around and listened to his spiel. And since I was 17 years old, I wasn't allowed to sign on my own. I had to get my parents okay.
Sure.
Okay, which really wasn't much of a problem because my background starts off with the Boy Scouts, and then the Civil Air Patrol, and then the ROTC in high school.
Yeah.
So it was just a progression for me into the Marine Corps. But the Marines were different than anything else that I had ever been in. And I went out to Camp Pendleton out in California for a week, and then another week at 29 Palms in the desert. That was hot. And then I'm thinking, Fred, this may not be where you want to be. But I stayed with it for the year while I was still in high school. When every month, once a month I believe it was, I can't remember for sure, went to all the meetings, and they had maneuvers in Kansas City. I remember in Swope Park at night. That was strange for me because I run through Swope Park as a kid. Wow. Going through there for maneuvers was totally different. Totally different.
So you chose the Marines because of the recruiter. Is that right?
That is correct. So I actually was told because of John Wayne.
What was your MOS?
In the Marine Corps?
Yes.
I was strictly a grunt.
Okay.
Strictly a grunt at that point.
Okay. And then you went into the Air Force after you got out of the Marine Reserves?
Yeah, so when I graduated from high school, and there was absolutely no way I was going to be able to go to college. It was a very poor family. But I wanted to see the world. I was anxious to see what life was like outside of Kansas City. So I went first to the Marines, and there was nobody there to join. Okay. And then went over to the Navy recruiter. He was there, but he was inebriated.
Wow.
So I went next door, which was the Air Force. The guy was there, and that's how I got into the Air Force.
So the Air Force chose you instead of choosing. Yeah, they were the ones that were left. What was your MOS in the Air Force then?
Well, I was into electronics. Okay, when I first got into the Air Force, I'm there 1 week, and I'm thinking, how do I get out of this? There's no getting out. There's no getting out. All I got, they call them drill instructors in the Marine Corps. They were TIs, technical instructors in the Air Force, and it all started at Lackland Air Force Base. And everybody's yelling at me constantly at that time. And I am just so naive. I'm shaking all the time, thinking, what do I do? How do I get out? What do I do? What do I do? And very truthfully, they started out giving us a whole bunch of tests, and I felt very inferior in the test. I just didn't understand all these tests that they were giving me.
Oh my goodness.
And that went on for 1 week solid. And it turned out I did pretty well. I was more surprised than anybody.
Now, in the Air Force, is that basic training?
That's to find out what your MOS is going to be.
Okay.
Okay. And I came out with high scores in administration, in mechanics, and in electronics. And I didn't know anything about either one of those. I just had an aptitude for it, I guess. And I never thought I had an aptitude for anything. As a kid, all I wanted is adventure. I wanted to see the world.
Yeah.
I really wanted to see the world.
Yeah.
So,
And what did you think of that? You called it training. It's not.
the training was similar to the Marines as far as the basic training. It was very similar. That didn't disturb me too much. Getting into electronics was different because I didn't know anything about electronics. I do remember one time in high school where I was in an electrical shop, and I'm wrestling with the guys in the back rather than paying attention. And one of the students, was a ham operator.
Oh.
Okay. And he brought in a multimeter, and I'm kind of wrestling, and he touched the leads together. And when he touched the leads together, all of a sudden, there was an indication on the meter, and I stopped and looked at it. Stopped whatever I was doing and looked. It caught my attention that strongly.
Uh-huh.
And I went up to him and asked him how he did that. And that was my first inclination of having an aptitude for electronics, if you will. Wow.
Now, where was this training?
The training was in Biloxi, Mississippi. And you go through what they call basics for electronics, and then you go into what they call sets. Sets were the actual electronics that they were actually using in aircrafts. So that's what I actually got the training on, how to fix those electronics. So my first job, when I left Keesler, graduated from Keesler, I was sent to Walksdale Air Force Base in Shreveport, Louisiana. And there they had me, what we would call changing black boxes. And I didn't like that. I wanted to know what was inside the boxes and how that really worked, not just take a box and move it from here to here. That just was not interesting to me at all.
Certainly.
Yeah.
What was the best part of your training?
Boy, it's a good question. I think the best part of the training was that I was able to be trained. I just did not think I was very intelligent. I just didn't think I had it. And it took some convincing. Said, hey, maybe I do have an aptitude for this after all. So I was always questioning myself. And it was when I graduated was probably the best part, that I actually made it.
Okay, what was the worst part?
The worst part of the training? Marching.
I can understand that.
Yeah.
So does any instructor stand out in your mind? Do you
No.
remember any of them?
Well, the other one, my first TI, Airman Greene, he must have been 6'8". He was, all I kept saying, the guy just was bigger and bigger and bigger.
Wow.
And he yelled a lot.
So, well, you remembered his name. So.
Yes. He made an impression.
So you qualified with certain equipment or just?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It was called APS 39. Boy, I hadn't thought of that word in years.
Wow.
Yeah. And what it was is for air-to-air refueling. That was the electronic. It was, you have the tankers, and you've got the fighters and other aircraft being refueled. Well, you can't get one plane to refuel all of those at the same time. So there's certain signals that have to be sent to match up the two, and that's what this APS 39 was doing. It would send out and would take a look at the signature, if you will, to allow a aircraft to approach to be refueled.
So you might say that was your specialty.
That was my specialty initially. Okay.
So what was your first assignment after you were done training? Was that?
That was Barksdale Air Force Base, Shreveport,
Barksdale.
Louisiana. Yeah, that's the SAC base.
Okay.
And I'll tell you what's the story on that one. That has to do with somebody who's very famous that I first ran into. I was on guard duty. This is on 1950, maybe 56, maybe. I was on guard duty to the B-47s at that time. The B-52s were not available yet.
Okay.
Okay, so this goes way back. Okay? And I got relieved about 3 o'clock in the morning to go to the snack bar. So I went over to the flight line snack bar and got all this bandoliers and guns and carrying all this stuff. And it's hot in Louisiana at that time of year. So I went over to the snack bar and I reached over and grabbed hold of the screen door and I ripped it open when somebody was pushing the door open at the same time. So as I pulled it, I was a little faster and that person just fell out and fell into my arms. It was Jimmy Stewart.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm a babbling idiot trying to salute him. I'm sorry, I'm trying to hold him up, and he kept saying, "That's all right, son. That's all right." My hands are shaking up. That's okay. Breathe.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Oh my
We
gosh.
all knew that he was on base. He was there for his 2 weeks of training. He was a reserve officer. He was a full colonel at that time. He stayed with then I think he ended up as a brigadier general. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to hold him up. Everybody else is trying to pick him up at the same time, and I'm apologizing up a storm. No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. I'm sorry. I didn't know what I meant.
Oh wow.
But he went on his way, and I went on.
So you didn't hurt him.
I didn't hurt him. No, I didn't hurt him.
Okay.
But,
So you were up in the airplanes a lot.
well, I wasn't in the aircraft.
Okay.
That's the portion that bugged me. Okay. Here I am changing black boxes on the ground.
Okay.
So I'm taking what they call a radome. Well, this is that black thing that's on front called a radome. Taking that out of the way, actually getting the equipment out, crawling inside the aircraft to get the other boxes
While
out.
it was on the ground.
While it was on the ground. Well, it was a lot easier that way.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And I didn't like that duty. Once again, I wanted to find out, was it inside?
What was your next assignment then?
Actually, I left Barksdale Air Force. I left SAC, and I was assigned to Europe, to NATO.
Okay.
And that assignment I loved.
We're doing the Miami Valley Salute to Veterans podcast with Miami Valley Communications Council. Thank you for listening. So you went to Europe with
Yes.
SAC.
No, not with SAC.
Oh, with
I was
NATO.
With NATO. I was assigned
NATO.
to NATO. Was assigned to, it was a first radio relay, and that was in Ramstein Air Force Base initially. And then this was assigning people on, going on top of mountains and relays. And once again, I'm not inside the box. Mm-hmm. I really want to get inside the box. That's where I really want to, where I feel that I could do the most, because that's what really attracted me.
Mm-hmm.
So that gave me a test, and I took a look at here's the whole bunch of answers. This is the correct answer. I'd marked as something else. So I purposely failed a test, so I wouldn't have to be on top of a mountain somewhere in Europe. Once again, it wasn't the kind of duty I wanted, so the Air Force didn't know what to do with me. So they had me loading and unloading trucks.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. I was a smart aleck. So they needed what they call a shotgun rider to go down to this small town between Karlsruhe and Stuttgart in Germany called Pforzheim. So I'm loading this equipment, and this equipment really looks interesting to me.
Yeah?
Okay.
What was it?
It was microwave. This was in the infancy of microwave,
Wow.
right when Europe was first getting into it. So I was being assigned to 12th Radio Relay, because first radio didn't want me. And I took this equipment down and just unloaded it. And the Sergeant Harrison, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm unloading it, and I'm asking him questions, and he said, "What is your MOS?" And I told him, he said, "What are you doing loading and unloading trucks?"
Mm-hmm.
So I told him, and he started laughing. And he looked at me and says, "You want to work in the maintenance shop?" Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Now I got inside the box.
Ah.
I learned how to put a maintenance shop together,
Mm-hmm.
because this is a brand new outfit, and I'm out there digging with a pick, putting ground planes in. I mean, I was getting down into it.
Mm-hmm.
Setting up the building to receive the equipment,
My gosh.
okay, and then wiring it, troubleshooting it, testing it, going out to the field and whatnot. I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
How long did you do that?
Until I got tired of it. I did that for probably a year.
Uh-huh. And then what did you do?
Well, I heard that there was an installation team that needed somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And they traveled all over Europe installing this equipment.
Okay.
And I said, I got pretty good at the maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
So I was looking for the next challenge, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So I applied for it and got it. And that was the best job ever.
Where all did you go in Europe?
Well, all through West Germany,
Mm-hmm.
different sites, different mountains, into France, went over to London. So I got to see a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it wasn't all work. What did you do did you have leisure time? Or
Oh, yes. Oh,
did
yeah.
you see the sights?
We got to see some sites, and it gets back into history now. I remember we were in a place called Dabo, France, and it wasn't too far from Strasbourg.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the time that de Gaulle was making his power bid to become president.
Mm-hmm.
So I went into town, a bunch of us went into town, and the gendarmes wouldn't let us into the city.
Really?
Yeah. And they told us to turn around and get out.
They didn't want U.S. military there.
They didn't want U.S. military there.
Wow.
Yeah. So I decided to turn around and leave. Yeah.
So do you have other recollections of this period of time?
Just, I'm afraid of heights. Okay.
Okay.
And my job was to climb towers.
Figures.
And the very first tower that I had to climb was a 100-meter tower. That's up there a ways.
Yeah. What were you doing up there?
I was putting in an antenna.
Okay.
Yeah. Or actually, it was a different outfit, 13th construction company. They actually put the tower up there, but I had to orient the shot.
Mm-hmm.
The way microwave works, it's line of sight. So you've got to be able to take into consideration the curvature of the Earth for the next antenna to receive it, and then you had to what do you call it, orient the dipole. They work this way, so the signals don't interfere with one another.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So in order for north to be aligned. So,
Wow.
So anyway, I'm climbing this tower. Like I say, I am afraid of heights, and I got up to the first landing, and my feet are just shaking like that.
Gosh.
At that time, I was smoking, and I couldn't even light a cigarette. I was shaking so badly. But then I learned how to get down from the tower. I never looked down. I always looked straight out,
Mm-hmm.
and then worked my way down. And that's how I overcame that fear. And that was one type of a tower. This was what they call a self-supporting tower. Since it's up there, almost 300 feet.
Was this all over? I mean, you did it more than once, obviously.
Oh yeah, I did this several times. I did all kinds of different things. I learned how to cut coaxes, and these are the big cables that go to these things,
Mm-hmm.
and those have to be tuned before you stick them on, so that the cable, the signal, the maximum strength of the signal actually is able to be fired out. So you have to cut that to a certain length.
Mm-hmm.
And
Wow. So did you move on from there?
mm-hmm.
And what else?
Well, we went on a native maneuver to Italy, northern Italy,
Mm-hmm.
and that was kind of interesting. All we did was set up the shot and then got out of there, and somebody else took over. So we didn't get a chance to see Italy very much at all.
Oh.
So we were there for maybe 2-3 days.
Oh.
Well,
Disappointing.
disappointing, in there and out. We did, a bunch of us went to Paris a couple of times.
Ah.
That was fun. But then again, I had my own car. I had a 1948 Hudson Hornet.
Oh my gosh.
And if anybody understands what that thing is, that's a long car with a straight 8 engine, not a V8. It was a straight 8.
Mm-hmm.
And it was fun. We had a good time. We got to Paris, and they got to the Arc de Triomphe. And for those who are listening who have experienced this, you go around the Arc de Triomphe, and you keep going around and around and around because you can't get yourself out because there's so many cars.
Oh my God.
So I kept watching how everybody else was getting out of there, and what they were doing was that they gave a signal and they whipped the wheel.
Oh.
That was it. And then, after going around probably 5 or 6 times, that's what I did.
You figured that out.
I figured out how to get away from that thing.
So how long were you in Europe?
About a little over 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
A little over 3 years in Europe. Then the sad part comes, okay, because I'm a Cold War vet.
Mm-hmm.
And when I came back from Europe, nobody greeted me.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing.
Yeah.
No. And there were no ribbons given to Cold War vets at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just a shake of the hands and we'll see you. That was it.
That was it.
That was it. And at the time, it didn't mean that much, but as those who were in Vietnam, I got that feeling once again. They were being rejected. I was rejected.
Mm-hmm.
And I decided I'm going to let people know that I was in the service.
Good.
And that's why I wear the hat.
Mm-hmm.
So if people see me, that's why I wear it.
Mm-hmm. Good.
Just so that you know.
That's good.
Okay.
So was that when you were released from duty
Mm-hmm.
and you went home?
Yes, I went home to Kansas City, and then I made a mistake. I should have joined the reserves.
Mm-hmm.
I had the opportunity to join the active reserves,
Yeah.
but I didn't. And that was another thing, is I had to ask for my discharge.
Oh, I see. What did you do then? Did you go to college or?
Well, there was no GI Bill when I got out.
Oh, okay.
When I said there was nothing, there was no GI Bill, no nothing. I missed the GI Bill, I missed the mustering out pay. So what I got was whatever monies that I had accumulated from leave.
Mm-hmm.
That was it.
That was it.
That was it.
So what did you do?
Well, I went to school on a part-time basis.
Mm-hmm.
Kept going. And then in 1966, the GI Bill came back in. And as soon as it came back in, I went to school full-time.
Good. Yeah.
And became an electrical engineer.
And you are smart. Is there anything you would like to add that we have not covered?
Just remember the guys.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything you have always wanted to share about your service or veteran experience that you never have?
I'm an open book.
You've shared
I've
everything.
shared. Now,
Well,
having that feeling of being rejected, yes, I shared.
Yeah. Did you join any VFWs or organizations?
I wasn't able to.
You weren't.
No, we were not recognized. Cold War vets were not recognized until recently.
Mm-hmm.
I am now able to officially join the American Legion. I have joined the American Legion.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I couldn't join the American Legion, Veterans of Foreign Wars. No.
No.
So, I mean, those are the kind of things that bother me. Once again, feeling rejected,
Certainly.
you know. But I don't hold that against them, and I'm not sure what the situation is. There was no ribbons either.
Mm-hmm.
I had to ask for a ribbon. And I did get one.
Yes.
I did get one ribbon. I got, and I just got that recently, and that is a good conduct medal.
Mm-hmm.
But it turns out that from my period of time, the Air Force did not have an Air Force good conduct medal.
Oh my.
So I got an Army good conduct medal.
Oh my gosh.
You know. Now, it isn't much, and it doesn't mean a whole bunch, but it means a lot to me.
Sure.
Yeah.
Certainly.
Yeah.
It's a recognition.
It's a recognition of some kind.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What would you like people to know or remember about your story?
Don't give up.
Okay. That's very good.
Don't give up. If you feel that you're warranted, go for it.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Very good. Is there anything else that you can think of? An incident, something funny, something not funny?
Oh, I can say a funny one.
Okay.
Where I met Elvis Presley.
Tell us about that.
Well, it wasn't that he and I had a conversation, because that's not the case.
Mm-hmm.
But Elvis was now over in Europe, and he was in an outfit that a buddy of mine from Kansas City was in. So I went to see him, and I said, where's Elvis? And he looked around, he saw him on top of a tank. Oh, he does the same thing as everybody else. He had no special assignments that were given to Elvis. He did the same thing as everybody else. He did the same kind of work.
Mm-hmm.
So about 2 or 3 months later, I've got a little Ford Taunus, a little German car.
Okay.
Okay, and I'm in Frankfurt, and I'm at a stoplight. You kind of look around when you get to the stoplight, and here comes a Mercedes cab. Elvis is in the back seat. Not word Priscilla.
Oh.
Oh. And he kind of looks over and he kind of waves to me. I wave to him, and that was it.
That was it.
That was it.
It's more than I saw. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Fred, for agreeing to do this. We appreciate it, and we appreciate your service.
Thank you. It's good to hear that.